Welcome to the Energy Upgrade podcast. Hey, I'm Vanessa, and I'm obsessed with all things health, energy, entrepreneurship, motherhood, and living my best life. I'm here to give you actionable steps in reclaiming your energy and reconnecting with your power. I'm a certified integrated health practitioner and kinesiologist. I spent the past decade with a focus on skin health and age prevention while co-founding a network of medical aesthetic clinics on the west coast of Canada. After healing myself from burnout, mold, heavy metal, and all the things, I'm back to my passion for health optimization, and I'm lucky enough to coach high-achieving women just like you in finding their energy and life force back. Transforming their life so they can step into the highest version of themselves has energized me and inspired me to bring to life this podcast. Here, I'll talk about detox, lifestyle, mindset, supplements, breathwork, parasites, and everything in between. I know you're so busy, so I keep it under 30 minutes. Thank you for being here. Cozy up and let's get started.
Your time is now. Your energy is your life force. You want to be able to magnetize your wildest dreams. A liver detox is the fastest way to start healing. You can and you will.
Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Energy Upgrade. And today I have a very special guest. My hubby, Phil, is on the show. Welcome.
Thanks, Vanessa. I'm so nervous right now. Are you Vanessa Grutman? Yes, you are. Okay. Wow. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh my gosh. So you'll see Phil is a funny guy. The reason why I wanted to bring him here today is because this is a question I get all the time from my clients. How did you get your husband on board? How the heck did you manage that? And so I thought we could share a little behind the scenes on what truly happened, because, we actually had to really calculate before we went on, like how long we've been together. We've been together 16 years.
Well done, Vanessa.
Yeah, congratulations. And so maybe we can talk about, obviously we haven't always been health nuts like we are now. When we met, you were in a different place.
Yeah, I was. It's kind of like we had like two moments, I guess, like in the last 16 years. When we first met, you were running that health clinic, and then you took my blood pressure, and I was like doing high blood pressure. I was like 30 pounds heavier, thinking I was healthy because it was distributed, right? Like it was like a healthy 30 pound everywhere. And then I remember you were looking at me, we're first dating, and you're like, this is not going to happen.
Yeah, this is not going to work.
It's not going to work. And, I would eat like at a food court and work in an office environment. Like I was not doing my own lunch or anything, just eating big portion and gross stuff.
Not moving, working, being stressed.
Like 60, 70 hours per week. It was just, one after the other. I was set for success. I was not even 30, and it was feeling like I was like, 50 something, even though I'm getting close to death, and it doesn't mean anything now.
Yeah.
So that was the first moment where you were like, Phil, like, let's work together. I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. So we just changed a few little things here and there. It was about moving, eating like a cleaner diet, and making my own lunch.
Yeah. And so this goes back to, I had finished my kinesiology degree. We met almost immediately after. And so obviously I was preaching this healthy lifestyle, but it was really about the basics. And we were working in the same office. At the time I was doing health promotion in the workplace, which was very difficult. And yeah, I flagged you as a as a high-risk case. And so we worked on that, reversed that. And I guess that was when you really started to feel better. So that was the early days.
Yeah, it was nothing crazy. It was just like, just stop eating that crap and stop eating that thing that comes in a box, and stop eat some veggies and eat some fruits. And you remember first time you opened my fridge, you're like, there's nothing. There was nothing in it. I think it was like just some blackberries.
Yeah, I remember blackberries. I was like, oh, okay, that's good.
That's a start.
But nothing else. But the pantry was full of
Yeah.
crap. Yeah. So it was a lot of processed food, which is okay. It's often where we all start. But I always say knowledge is power. But from that time, you've become almost, I like to say, my guinea pig. Then we moved to Vancouver, and I started working with L'Oreal at the time. And I was thinking about that, like thinking about guinea pig, how you've always been a trooper. So I was launching this medical skincare brand, SkinCeuticals, in Canada. That's back in 2010. And we had to experiment these peels and these products to see, you know, how strong they were. And I had to really see it firsthand to be able to sell it to doctors. And yeah, you were my guinea pig. I did, oh my gosh, the things we did on your skin.
You burned my skin a few
multiple times. And here you were still trusting me. Yeah, you've always been willing to try whatever. Somehow you trusted, and you still do. You still trust me.
Yeah, well, like you said, the first thing, dropping 30 pounds,
Mhm.
blood pressure going back to normal without any kind of prescription drugs. Because I remember going to a doctor, he said, yeah, we have all these drugs you can take, no problem. Like, we'll adjust this back to where it should be. And like, well, this is going to be my life. I'm not even 30. And like, I'm set for like success. Energy was down and everything. So yeah, like you said, it was kind of like a first aha moment. But at the same time, like, yeah, for me, it was just these little adjustments that you asked me to do. And all of a sudden I see a big change. I'm like, okay, so it's actually working and I'm gaining energy. And the second aha moment, I think, was when, well, we were in Vancouver, and after we had our first child, where we were feeding her with only organic food. We're like, only organic, clean. And then for us, it was like, yeah, but it's okay. Then at some point, like, why are we doing it for her and not for us? So it's just, and then once again, like, energy going up and all these things happening, and then feeling better, immune system is better. Like, so like, okay, there's something going on. So I was a guinea pig, but at the same time, it was such a slow
build up.
Exactly.
Yeah. It, you know, I've always had this passion for the healthy lifestyle, but then I kind of forgot to do it for myself after we had our kids, and I kind of ran myself to the ground, and you saw that. And then we moved again and moved across the country, and we had like mold exposure. I feel like we had like 3 years of that were definitely more difficult. But now that I look back at them, I'm like, wow, this was almost like my training. Because now I know how to really help anybody that's in that situation. But so we moved, and then you saw me studying and, you know, really reconnecting with this first passion and this health coaching. And you saw me started to I started detoxing and doing all these crazy protocols. And I guess you probably saw a change in me because you started being really curious about it. Because I don't think the first time I asked you to do it with me, did I?
No, I was like,
I think I was, doing it solo.
Chemical peels. I was like, maybe this time I'll let you do it first on your body, and then maybe we can try on mine. But,
yeah. So when I started detoxing, that was a while ago. So what made you intrigued into doing it? Because now you're pretty much doing it with me all the time.
Yeah, no, well, a few things. You talked about the mold exposure, which was pretty bad. It was in my office and next to the master bedroom. So I was almost like in that working from home and office master bedroom, like spending pretty much like most of my time in this environment. And I remember at some point you look at me like, you had a dream.
Yeah, I had a dream of you.
Just saying, coming to you, and I was green, and I'm sick, right? And then this is where like I felt like headaches and all kind of stuff was always going on. And yeah, I went to see a naturopath, and then she rebalanced a few things and did like some kind of a detox. But it was kind of my first experience with detoxing. It was not fun, but it was actually like naturally like
It wasn't fun. No,
fun at all.
it was scary.
Yeah.
Detoxing from mold, by the way, if you're listening, you can't do that alone. Like it's actually one of the hardest things to move out of your body. And actually now thinking back, I would have done it completely different than how you did it. But it was harsh. It was very hard. But that wasn't a real like liver detox per se.
No.
But you tried that maybe last year for the first time.
Yeah, first time. I mean, I was, once again, like guinea pig, but at the same time curious about like, I want to be healthy. I want to be full of energy for our kids, and I want to make sure that I'm present and I'm not like just sitting there and have fun. I want to play with them. So I give it a try, and I remember like the first 2 days were just like, what did I just sign up for? Like, why am I doing this? And I felt like my head was so heavy. Everything was just like you go to sleep and you're like, why can't I sleep? I'm like, what's going on with my body?
Who am I?
Who am I? Right. And then the third day, I remember, I think you have a picture of that. You served me, and I'm very lucky because you take care of most of the meals, and it's phenomenal. And I know it's always for you, it's always no, it's just basic stuff. I'm trying not to get like no recipe or anything, but like it's always good. But I remember you served me that salad, that big salad with chickpeas and avocado and cucumbers, and I was like so excited about it, right? Like, and I was not necessarily I love salad for lunch, but it was just like there was seriously it was just like if you were serving me the best piece of steak ever. And seriously, that first meal was like, oh, game changer. But I remember I have my Oura ring, so I remember tracking my sleep, tracking whatever is going with my body. And that night we had like a regular dinner with some proteins and went to sleep that night. And I remember the morning after, I had like almost like 100% reading.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, my heartbeat was low. Everything was just like seriously textbook perfect. I was like, okay, so there's something.
Doing something.
It's doing something. Would have been easy for me just to look at you. Oh yeah, do your stuff. But I wanted to kind of experience it. And I'm not expecting all your clients and whoever is listening to this podcast say, yeah, I'm going to convince my husband. But for me, it was just like, yeah, let's give it a try. And then day 4, day 5, days, it's just keep on like
kept getting better.
And there was some stuff, little snacks sometime in the afternoon, like some nuts and stuff like that I would do normally. And it was like, no, that's part of this detox. You're not.
You can't do that.
Like your only snack is this shake in the afternoon. You're like, great. But at the same time, like, it's just these little things that you're changing that you don't even think of at some point. And then after you're done with your 7 days, it's not like you have a crave for okay, I'm going to go back to snacking and my coffee and my, even though I'm drinking coffee right now, I love my coffee, but it's these little things that are just building up. And at the end of the day, you finish your detox and you're like, wow, okay.
It's a real reset.
Don't need this. Maybe I don't need that. And, I don't drink a lot of alcohol and no now, and it's not because of you. It's just because of me. Once again, what I figured out is after doing the detox is, okay, if I eat this is how I feel. If I do that, this is how I feel. This is going to impact my sleep. And it's not I'm going nuts. It's just I'm more conscious of like what's going on, what's happening to my body, which was not the case before. And a lot of guys like this, we're like, well, no, we're good. Like I'm healthy.
We're pushing through.
Do this, like no problem, and then pushing through. But you never take the time to just stop and just say, is it making any sense what I'm doing right now? Like, I'm tired. Why am I tired? It's just because I work late? No, yeah, but I didn't sleep well. And then all these
the ripple effect.
Exactly. So it was kind of like the detox was one thing, but it was also like to reconnect with my body. And as a man, it's not something we do a lot. It's not the way.
Even as women, I talk about that all the time. We don't take the time to see how we feel. And it's such a great reset because it's almost like you strip yourself of so much. I mean, that's literally what happens is you strip yourself of all these toxins, but then you become uber sensitive to whatever you're exposing yourself to. So if you have a glass of wine the next day, which you absolutely can have, but you'll feel it. You'll feel it way more because now your liver is decongested. So it's like, it's not just a drop in the ocean anymore. It's maybe a drop in a small glass of water. So you feel it a lot more. And so I'm glad. And that's for anybody listening, if you're trying to have your husband do these things with you, this is what worked for us. I'm not going to say it's going to work for everybody, but what worked for us is I did it. I embodied it. He saw the change and he just got curious. And then eventually he was like, oh, yeah, you're doing a detox again. Yeah, maybe I'll do it with you this time.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll try it. But I think it's the best way. Like, I think the worst approach is to impose it. But sometimes I do that though.
Yeah,
I did it last summer when I announced that the whole family was doing a candida cleanse.
Summer, right? Right. So what's part of this? No alcohol,
no sugar, no dairy, nothing.
There's summer? Are you, what's going on here? And then first thing you know, you just go into it. I'm not expecting people to say, oh yeah, let's do it. Like, but timing wise, sometimes you connect like, okay, summer, it's warm, you need beer, glass of wine, rosé, white, like something refreshing. But then you just shift and you're like, no, maybe this is like just a sparkling water is fine. And we're laughing about like, oh, I love my sparkling water.
Yeah, it's like, oh, do you want a glass of San Pellegrino? But that was a big shift for you. And we had a conversation about, okay, what's your relationship with alcohol and relaxation, celebration? Because a lot of people will have a glass of wine on a Friday night or on the weekend because they've had a big week.
Yeah, you just do it.
And that's fine. But I always challenge you to think, okay, but why do I need to reward myself for having worked all week? Is, what am I trying to numb? Is it because I was so stressed I didn't feel it? Or maybe I have a toxic boss or colleagues that I'm trying to avoid. Or maybe it's really just stressful and I have a hard time keeping up. But are you really helping your body by doing that, by putting more toxins in? So we talked about that. And
I think I need to say, like, if I have a glass of wine, I don't feel judged, which is important to mention because people, I'm pretty sure they're like, oh, poor guy, like he's next to Vanessa, he has to be perfect. And no, I mean, I can have some little treat here and there, and then but I see the impact and I'm more aware of it. And then I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't need this, but I'll never see you next to me and say, are you sure you need that glass of wine? Are you really sure? No, I mean, it's you're like, yeah, Phil, have a glass of wine. Like,
also we have, like, I also always acknowledge that we have very different goals. I mean, we do both have like longevity and energy goals. Like we both want to age really well and be able to have energy for our kids and grandkids. And that's something that we're really passionate about. And we kind of, our entire lifestyle, our house, like the way we picked where we live now, the way we did our reno, which, by the way, if you're curious to see it more behind the scenes, we documented our non-toxic reno on YouTube. It's on my channel, which at one point I was like, oh, is this going to break us? Because that was a bit intense.
But at the end of the day, it's like a journey, right? Like
we discovered so many things that, again, you do without asking yourself, from buying furniture to putting MDF because it's cheaper and putting glue everywhere because it's easier. And then after that, realizing like, oh, but wait, it might be cheaper now, but then I'm going to breathe the off gas of this stuff for 15 years.
It won't last long and you have to replace it. And it's just like, sometimes it's good to invest in quality over like just what is candy right now. But once again, like maybe we're at this end of the spectrum and then some people
we're definitely more intense.
What's wrong with them? But
we have a strong why.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's all about like when you feel better. And going back to the detox, I would say like if you're a man or whoever is doing the detox and day one is horrible and day two is even worse, it's a good sign. It means that you have so much to detox. If you don't feel anything, it means that you were already in pretty good shape. But if you feel like heavy,
like me now when I do it,
but seriously, like it's just like, yeah, now you do it. I'm like, are you doing the detox because you feel like, yeah, it looks like everything's normal? But my first one was very tough. Second one, okay, but it's not because I'm getting used to it. It's just because
you're emptying your rain barrel.
exactly.
If you haven't listened to the rain barrel episode, that's number 1, first episode. It's so important to understand that. But yeah, you're right. Like your body's toxic load, if it's really high, and if you haven't really done anything and you start detoxing, it can be a little bit overwhelming how you feel. But that's why I try to support people and make sure that there's a few things in place so their experience is smooth. But it is a journey. What I love about the detox is every time I do it, it's always different. I haven't had, like, I always have new breakthroughs, new things that click. And it's been more on the emotional side, more on the reflection, the feminine energy.
Yeah, I know. Way to go. I need to listen to some of your last podcast to be sure I'm up to date. But
sometimes I'll be like, hey, Phil, if you listen to this episode, I think you really should. Well, that makes me think, and that's something else that you've embraced, like the mouth taping thing.
oh yeah,
You're oh my gosh. And you're probably, when we started dating, I remember how like you had to always drink water through the night. And I was like, this is so weird, but I didn't really understand at the time. So when this came into my awareness, I was like, okay, I know what is going on with you. And you've been doing it for like what, almost 3 years now, maybe more.
Initially I thought it was just because I was talking too much, and it was like, hey, well, there's this new thing that is good for you. Put a piece of tape on your mouth, and then
I don't hear from you. Bye.
yeah, exactly. Right? I was like, there's no way like this is good for me, but that's okay. If you feel better and this is going to help us as a family couple, let's do it. No, but seriously, I remember once again, I'm not here for a hoorah ring or
yeah, clearly.
Once again, like the reading on your sleep. I remember the first night, it's kind of like
weird,
a little bit weirdly, like, okay, I'm taping my mouth, and you have those tapes that you can buy that are like
soft. Yeah.
But with my beard and everything was not working great, so I just took like a regular roll of tape for
yeah, first aid. Yeah, cloth tape, like a 3M.
And on my lips, and I just keep a little bit like a air on the side just to make sure I can breathe. But at the same time, first thing you know, okay, I'm breathing with my nose, and okay, and the morning after I feel better, and I don't have that crusty kind of like.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Good morning, Vanessa.
And no snoring.
No snoring. Oh no, what? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, well, sometimes, but oh, it's a game changer. Your heart rate was always really high at night through the night, and then it just went down.
Yeah. So these old things, but once again, a few years ago, you would have said, like, when we first met, okay, Phil, you have to clean your mouth, you have to
detox.
I would have said, like, okay, thank you, have a good day, bye. But it was kind of baby steps, and it was like we said, like a build up, but you like to read and you like to learn more, and you like,
oh yeah, I'm always
trying to. So I always have the condensed version, which is great, so I can do other stuff. And then give me the
Cole's notes. I always give him the Cole's notes because I'm always researching more things.
But at the end of the day, like these little things, right? You feel better. You're like, okay, good. And we do it with our son, right? Which is
yes.
And at the beginning, we were like, no, there's no way he's going to accept that. But he said, Dad, doing it. He was like, okay. And then he was also like, mouth breathe.
Oh, gosh. And he was still sucking his thumb. He was 5, still sucking his thumb. And oh my gosh, the things we've tried.
That thing on his elbow.
Oh, yeah.
Go there. Oh. He would just push like that.
He was very clever. But now it's great. We don't have that problem anymore.
Should I say when you buy tape though, don't say why?
I think I said it in my podcast because you had that experience. The pharmacist thought.
Yeah, pharmacist was like, I said, like, I need some tape. He said, for what? I said, well, just to
tape my mouth.
At night. He said, what is wrong? Are you crazy? What? You can die. It's like, maybe, but do you know where I can fight? I'm not selling you tape. So I had to go to another pharmacy and explain that I was looking for tape for my
Injury, yeah.
hit, right? So yeah, so I'm not saying once again, I'm not saying like it's the right thing and not right thing to do. There's some stuff on Amazon or you can buy like everywhere specific for that, but for me, because of my beard and everything was not
it was easier.
But seriously, like the face of the guy was saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna
Oh yeah.
take my mouth at night." It's like,
that's the thing is when you start this health journey, and I always say this, even with families and friends, like you don't need to share all the details. They already think we're crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're full on labeled as the crazies, but you know what? Fully embracing it.
oh yeah, totally.
I would rather be a crazies, like be labeled like that and super healthy, and it really doesn't bother me. It used to bother you.
Oh yeah,
like it
totally,
was
totally.
at first to be
like, well, it's just
oh yeah, okay, yeah, these guys are gluten-free and dairy-free and they can't have this and they won't drink alcohol and they want to, you know, like
and you get like the what is wrong with you? Like
yeah.
like that's fine if it's good for you, but then I used to do migraines and I used to do like that's another thing too. That I was able to rebalance a few things and no more migraines. And you remember all my weekends would be like Friday. You're like
stress would come down and then boom, you'd get a migraine like
weekend.
every weekend. Yeah, lying in bed. And that was really just gluten, removing that, which, and then a few nutritional supplements, but the gluten was the big one. That was what, like 10 years ago that we stopped that.
And it's funny because I was in the office this week and someone was telling me, hey, it's funny, I had gluten-free pizza the other day and I was feeling so good, but it was a mistake because I'm not gluten-free, I'm not celiac. I was like, so it was like interesting. I was like, but at the same time, we're all different, and some people that probably can digest. And if I'm maybe I'll have my slice of pizza.
No, it's inflammatory for everybody, every single human. Nobody was designed to have that. But the thing is, marketing is very powerful in the food industry, and sometimes it's easy to get lost.
But it was by mistake.
I know.
It's not because
But see, those are opportunities, you know. And so if you're that's always how we approach it when our family members are asking questions like, why are you doing this? It's like, well, you know, why don't you give it a try and see how you feel and notice if there's no difference, well, just keep doing what you're doing. But if you're feeling better, because if you have a food intolerance, it can affect you for up to 72 hours. Like it's going to create inflammation in the body for up to 3 days. So you could have like, you know, a big night where you go all out and you don't really look into what you're doing. Let's say on a Friday night, you could still be off and feel like low energy and sluggish on Monday. Isn't that crazy? For me, I just decided that to me, it's too important and there's too many things I want to be able to do and achieve that I can't be wasting any days anymore. I think you share that vision too now.
Yeah, and we're going for the long run, right? Long run, healthy, as opposed to the long run. And oh yeah, I'm aging, and you know, I turn 45, and I'm like, oh, okay, so the 50 is coming. But at the same time,
you're healthier now than you've ever been.
Yeah, exactly. And every year you go see your doctor, you do your medical, and then they're like, how much weight you gained since last year? All done. Okay, are you okay?
Yeah, sometimes you get that a lot. Like people think you're sick because everybody around you is gaining so much weight and you're staying normal, like you're stable, and people are like, are you okay?
Question this. I eat a lot.
And I do not, like you've mentioned it, I'm glad you did, because I really don't control what you're eating. Like you know what's good for you, like by now you know. And so you're a bit boy there. But you eat so much food, it's actually really frustrating because here I am like trying to, you know, really be mindful. So we do have very different metabolisms and goals in that regard. But maybe just to close off, another thing I wanted to talk about was this masculine, feminine, because it's something that's just so fascinating. And I think you may have seen, well, I hope, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. So this is like, you know, so I'm going to talk about the relationship and the impact of leaning into one energy over the other. And one thing I've been able to realize, I guess, through all these detoxes and protocols and counseling and breath work and all the things that I do on myself, all the extra personal development, one thing became very obvious is that I've just been operating since we've known each other, but also since childhood, into this very strong performance-driven masculine energy, like alpha, like let's get stuff done, let's hustle, this needs to happen, having plans, like just very little room for flow. And obviously when I burnt myself out, I just had a really hard time staying in that energy, because even when you want, you can't. I was so tired. Remember, you would come and like almost like wake me up with a stick in the morning. You're like, is she still alive? What's happening? Well, with some mornings, it was like
weekends were like, well, you were not even moving.
I was like dead in bed. Yeah. So, and then like just especially more recently, I've just been trying to be really mindful of not being in that energy all the time, because if I'm in that energy, you can't be in that energy. That's one thing I've realized in relationships is it's like the yin and the yang. The yang is the masculine, and if I'm there all the time, you can't be in it. So then that's not doing you any favor, and it's not serving us as a family either. So I don't know, like, have you been?
I've seen a shift, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the biggest shift is that at some point you were like, okay, it might not be done the way I would do it all the time, but it's actually done.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I can do stuff around the house. I can do quite a bit, but at the same time, sometimes I was not suffering that. It was just, well, okay, she looks like she wants to take care of it. So yeah, okay, so you just remove yourself a little bit, but then maybe I was giving too much space and you were taking too much space. And then like at some point it was just, no, let's rebalance things. Like I'm in charge here for some stuff and you're in charge. That's fine. And I might not do it the way you want to do it. And if I'm with the kids for a few days because you're on a business trip, you might come back and look at stuff and it's like, oh, you forgot to water the plants and you forget. Yeah, maybe, but they're happy and we're happy and everything is good. Nothing is falling apart. Okay. But I saw a shift there for sure. Like it was not that you were picky, but it's just that almost like you had that control. Like,
well, yeah, that's what that energy is. It's got to be done your way, and that's the performance.
All women here, like, let your husband do some stuff.
Well, you know where it comes from is actually asking for help. That's something else. Because I remember like you're just saying like how you would be like, okay, she wants to do it, so I'm gonna step back. But I like most of those things, it's not like I wanted to do them, they just needed to be done. And so I thought, okay, well, somebody's got to do it. But that's really the masculine energy that most women will feel, is that they're responsible for everything, and they're responsible for everything. So it's almost like the savior kind of mentality, like I need to go and save everybody. And that's like, oh my God, it's so hard because you just give your energy to everybody. Also to like silly things, like just things that actually don't make a difference in anybody's life, but yet you think, I used to think it was. So I just thought of mentioning that because that's something we're still working on, and we're both realigning our energies. And like, I see you're stepping up and you're really, I always love the analogy of like the masculine energy should be the riverbeds and the female energy needs to be the river flowing. So there's more loving and caring and nurturing and creation and things like that. So we're still figuring that out, but it's made a big shift. Right?
It's not just like,
well, and that's
forcing things. You're not forcing things. It's just these things. It's not an overnight thing, but we are rebalancing everything. And I know that our kids, like, they're feeling it too. And
oh yeah, for sure.
It's good for us.
And the thing is, I want to also say, like, it doesn't have to be like a big extravagant shift. Like for me, I remember even just like a few months ago, I was doing a launch in my business, and I was like, okay, I'm really gonna need some help here. And I asked for help. I was like, okay, I won't be able to go and pick up the kids. Like, can you help me with that? And you're like, yeah, I got you.
Not even asking. You were
Yeah, you're like,
office, and then I was like, maybe.
No, but I remember saying like, okay, this is going to be a busy time. And you're like, yeah, I got you. What do you need? What do you need to get done? And I was like, oh, okay. So that's all I have to do. So as silly as it sounds, like sometimes in our heads, we think because we've been in this position where we have to save everybody and we're the only ones, we think we're the only ones who can get stuff done. It's as easy as just asking for help. And then the whole dynamic, like it just changes everything. So anyway, thank you.
Oh, thanks to you for all the good stuff you're doing.
For me,
for your community, for seriously, like it's and to see you in your space now, like in your zone, it's it's inspiring for sure, because you were there, then you went kind of away from that path a little bit on a different journey, but personally you were still on that journey, but it's just going back to it and getting your designation and everything else that goes with that. Like, I mean, it's inspiring for sure. And you're in your zone. I'm looking at you, you're happy, and the energy that you're gaining and that we feel around you is unreal. So well done.
Oh, I didn't ask him to say that, or I didn't pay or bribe him, just so everybody knows.
Well, like, you said you're gonna do a podcast. I was like, what? Like,
what am I going to be talking about? So there you go. Anyway, maybe this is going to be the first of many, but the idea here, we'll see. But the idea was just to give maybe a bit like a real vulnerable behind the scene look at how it is to, be with a health coach, a health nut, a crazy woman, but it sounds like it's actually not too bad.
It's manageable.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's magic.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? Sorry, it's my English. It's magic.
Yes. Well, ladies out there, if you think that your partner would maybe, love to listen to this with you, feel free to bring him on the ride. And if partner, you are listening, I can tell you it doesn't have to be as scary as it sounds. It's one step at a time, one little thing. And like Phil said, first thing you know, it's gonna snowball into that strong inner desire of just wanting more, wanting to feel better, more energy. And you see it in every sphere of your life. At work, you're just more on it. You're so efficient at work. It's like crazy. So
we call that the new norm sometimes for some stuff, but that can be your new norm.
Yeah. Your health, the healthy version of you. And it's never too late. It's always now is always the right time. So thank you, Phil, for being here. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye. Hey, beautiful women. If the tips and tricks I'm sharing here on the show are getting you inspired, excited about the possibility of feeling like yourself again, maybe it's time we hop on a call. Did you know I offer free 30-minute discovery calls to anyone being curious about my health coaching approach, but most importantly, anyone feeling like their time is now. If you're feeling like you've had enough, it's time to turn things around, well, let's chat. Find the link in the show notes and let's meet. The information shared on this podcast is for information purposes only and doesn't provide any medical advice. Vanessa Grotman does not cure, diagnose, or treat disease. Please consult your physician before trying any new protocol or product.